Hey, we're going to jump right into this project. I have a Dollar Tree tray, and I am first going to use a little bit of watered down white paint to give it a bit of a light white coating. And then I'm going to use my decoupage glue and apply this piece of repeating pattern tissue paper to the inside. Now, because this paper is not large enough to fill out the inside base there, I'm going to use another piece of the same paper and continue the pattern so that it covers the entire base of this tray. And again, this particular paper is tissue paper as opposed to rice paper. It's rather forgiving in the sense that I put it down onto the glue, but I can still position it or reposition it just a little bit just to get it right where I want it. And after I have the paper down, I'm just using my hand covered with a plastic bag to smooth down the paper. Now there's a little bit of gap there, so I'm just using a little bit of the tissue paper to continue the paper so that it covers the complete inside of the tray. And then I'm going to finish it off just using my finger to make a little crease so that I can fill in that empty spot. And again, I'm going to apply just a little more glue so that it sticks down. So once I line everything up, I want the inner flowers to match up so it continues and in its pattern. I'm just going to put down a little bit of glue. The glue doubles as a sealant, and I'm using a napkin decoupage glue because this is a lighter weight paper. Now I just have to finish up this corner, and I've cut out my piece of tissue so that I can just fit it in like a little puzzle to finish up the inside of this trinket tray. I'm using my finger to make a little crease like I did before so that I can then take it out and then cut it out so that it fits just right to finish the last piece of this bit of a decoupage puzzle. And if you're new here, I'm Pam of PamBranchDesigns.com. I design, create, and print my own rice paper, tissue paper, and some mulberry paper that are available online at PamBranchDesigns.com. Now I've got that in place. I just put a little bit of sealant on top of that, and now I can move on to the outside of the project. Now for the outside of the tray, I'm going to be using rice paper. That's the one on the left there. The tissue was the one on the right. The rice paper is heavier than the tissue paper. So what I'm using here is a little water on my brush, and as I put the water on the brush, I'll let it soak in a bit, and then I can easily tear the rice paper so that when I apply it to my base, meaning my trinket tray, it'll blend in a lot better with both the tray as well as any other rice paper piece that I may put on top of it or beside it. So I'm going to just speed this up a little bit, and I'm going to apply my decoupage glue. I'm using Mod Podge here. For the tissue paper, like I said, I used a napkin glue. But I am going to apply it to the outside, and then I'm just using my finger to smooth it down, but it is better to use like a piece of plastic between your paper and your finger so that you don't rip the paper, as it is, somewhat delicate. And now that I've applied that first piece, I'm going to cut out another piece using my water and just a gentle tearing so that I can apply that next to that first piece to create a nice design all the way around the outside of my trinket tray. And this rice paper comes in a bundle. So there are 4 designs that come in the bundle, and I'll put a link to it below. The first paper that I used is a tissue paper that's a separate product, but that's also available on my website. I'm not following any particular pattern with respect to how I'm laying down these pieces. I'm just going by the spacing and trying not to leave any gaps in between the papers that I'm applying down to the outside of the tray. And I'm just working my way around. I'm going to wait until all of the glue is dry, and then I will take off the excess, the part of the paper that's hanging over the side. Now, just to be transparent, like I said, the paper that I'm using around the sides comes in a bundle. You get 4 images in that bundle, and I think around the side I used 7. So you would, if you were doing this exact project, you would need 2 of those bundles. For this particular project, I felt like I could just use scissors to cut, mostly because I needed to grab a little bit of excess so that I could fill in a few of the gaps. But you can also use like a sanding block, and you'll see me do that a little later, to trim off the excess paper. And it gives you a nice smooth edge. So I'm going to go around the entire project with the sanding block, remove the excess paper, and now I have a finished decoupage portion of the project, but I did want to fix some of these little spots where there's gaps. So I did use some of the excess paper to fill in some of the empty spaces. So I just used the same technique, used a little water, went around the edges, and then glued some of the extra images there using my decoupage glue. Now there were a few spots where the rice paper seemed to overlap a bit and there was a bit of a line. So I used my sanding block, my sandpaper, which is basically wrapped around some wood. It's a very coarse grit of sandpaper, and I just went over some of those lines, and it sort of erases the lines. So now I'm just mixing up my paper. I'm just mixing up my paint, And it's a bit of red, a little yellow, and a little white so that I can paint the beads that are going to be the legs, and also so that I can just go around the top and the bottom so that it matches the paper. Once the beads are dry, I'll just glue those to the bottom and they'll serve as legs. And now that it's done, I'm just going over the entire project with my glue, which is also a sealant, and then I'll just wait for it to dry. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them below. There's also links below for my Facebook Decoupage group.